Hey Jam citizens, it's time for a message from Jam City's SVP of Studio Operations, Lisa Anderson, from this year's .LA Summit, as she shares her thoughts on the future of mobile gaming.
I think a win in the mobile space for any of us is really a win for all of us, quite honestly. And I think, what we're seeing is there's been this amazing shift in the mobile space sort of overall since like many of us have been in the industry. I think, we talk a lot about sort of how it's evolved over time. And I think, it comes down to sort of access and audience. Specifically, I think access is a big piece in terms of allowing players, to be able to access, gaming in a more easily, in an easier fashion with proliferation of mobile. Free-to-play business model makes things a lot easier. But I do think, what we've all seen during COVID is that gaming has taken on a whole nother sort of layer of sort of entertainment. Ultimately, we create experiences and entertainment at the end of the day. And in many cases, during COVID, we've seen and heard from our audiences that has really become an escape for them, especially during some very challenging times in their real life. I think, social, as we talked about a little bit earlier, has taken on a whole new form. I think previously, like before COVID, it was, there was a lot of competitive play, cooperative play. And I think now social has really taken on this real opportunity to actually connect with your friends, connect with your family in ways that you're not able to do the way that you used to. So one of the things we've actually seen sort of emerge during COVID is sort of this concept of more meaningful social connection, right? Not just with anybody and everybody who's out there, but really with your social circle and how those circles sort of expand. I think that's an element that we think about, how do we make sure, sort of in a world post-COVID that we're continuing to double down on and leverage that in a way that continues to be meaningful for our players. I think it's looking and taking cues from different industries and other different lifestyle apps in terms of who's best in class and how they're doing it. I think there's, sort of your inner circle is, who people you want to share and that you trust sharing things with. And then secondly, how do you expand those circles into things that are a bit more meaningful? So we're looking at the player journey in that way from a social standpoint. The ability to look at the power your players are telling you something every single day about your game, what they like, what they're struggling with, what they want more of, right? And so you have this very real-time relationship and opportunity to continue to give them more of what it is they want. I think the other piece that Rob hit on that I think is so critical, especially as we think about going forward, is this idea of personalization. Every player plays differently. Player behavior is different from one player to another. So being able to really personalize those experiences to your players, I think is pretty critical going forward. And that comes with technology, that comes with data science, that comes with a lot of tools to be able to understand how your players are engaging day over day. And so I think when you look at, when we look at KPIs, the two biggest metrics really are retention and engagement, because those are the drivers that help us, know that our players are showing up every single day and why are they showing up. I think another metric when we look at some of our games is we're seeing that players are playing, or spending more time in our games as they are on social platforms, which is pretty significant. So it really does become a part of their daily habits. And I think we've seen that also across the board for all of us, especially with COVID. There's this big gap in generational sort of gamers. And I would say that, one of the things that we've seen with mobile gaming is that everybody who has a phone in their pocket is potentially a gamer. And so this misnomer of, the definition of a gamer has changed immensely. And I think for the positive, quite honestly. So you'll talk, to friends or friends' parents who are like, I'm not a gamer, but I play solitaire or I play this word game, right? But they really are a gamer. And so I think, this stigma potentially of what a gamer used to be has changed incredibly. I think that, what that means also is that we're serving, from a business standpoint, your audience is changing. There's this wide spectrum that we're now serving. It's not just young, males who are playing games. 50% of the market of gamers are women. And so how do you serve that audience in a way that's very authentic? So, ultimately at the end of the day, it's experiences that we're creating. And so again, that awareness on the business side that, serving a broader audience requires that I think you have that represented at your development tables that are thinking about how to market to women or to people who are more diverse. How do you create a design? How do you create game structures that are actually resonating with them? And then I think the flip side on the awareness is, mobile gaming has become more of a thing that, younger generations are aware of. So how do they understand what the opportunities are to go and work in the space? We talk about, there are a lot of traditional, whether it's marketing, roles that have extended beyond that to engineering, to art, to design, to sound. And so helping kids and younger generations understand that there is a future in gaming and how they can get involved in that. And I think both of those two things combined, I think are helping us get to a better place. I'm super proud to work for, having worked for Disney and working for Jam City, where that's really at the forefront of our DNA. It's very important to us that we make sure that the audiences we serve are actually reflected at the tables that are developing for them.
Thanks again for watching. For more content on life at Jam City, be sure to click to your right and click to your left to hear more from Jam City's CEO on the Inc. 5000 Vision Conference panel.